Welcome, YouTube friends and family and new subscribers, to today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader, where we're going to talk about all things 2023 January Pantry Challenge. Now, as promised, I am not going to monopolize my channel with finance and no spend challenges, but y'all, I've had a few of you reach out to me privately with some really good questions. Plus, I have had one of those aha moments for ways you might want to make things a little easier on yourself. And I couldn't wait to get on and share it with you. So please excuse the multi-print items. Today is the first day we are supposed to get above freezing in I don't know when. I did get the chicken girls moved out to their new run and, of course, their old coop yesterday. And thank you, Miles, if you're watching. And thank you, Grace, for the loan of your child, who's going to be my new adopted child because he's such a great worker. But at any rate, I'm wearing a lot of clothes, so please, please excuse. Frankie actually went to bed so he could get warm. Usually he's laying right here on the register vent, hogging. For some reason, when they built this house, there are only 2 register vents there's none in the kitchen. This is the eating area. And then over here in front of the door, which, hello, did you think that through? That is the only vent. So this room stays really cold. Anyway, I digress. So some of you reached out, and the questions I'm getting consistently are really twofold. Number one, does a pantry challenge or even a no spend January really save money, or do you just end up shopping a lot before and a whole bunch after and it really saves you nothing? I'm going to address that. The second question is, okay, I prep on a small scale. You know, I'm not a huge prepper. I'm feeding one. Aren't I afraid of running out of all of the food that I've prepped and depleting my prepper pantry? So I'm going to address that question as well. Then I'm going to give you guys my top, I think I came up with 8 tips for getting started, because tomorrow, when you watch this, will be New Year's Eve, and I want you to be successful. So here we go. Are you ready? Does it really save money? For me, yes, it saves a ton of money. But think about it maybe from the general population standpoint. Number one, what happens when you go to the grocery store? If you're like me, and I can only speak for myself, there is a degree of impulse buying. So think about what you throw away when you clean out your fridge before grocery shopping weekly, however you do it. Are you wasting food? Let me tell you what, there's nothing like a pantry challenge to be like, I have this 1-inch square of cheese and I'm going to use that in something. So it decreases your waste. It definitely decreases your impulse buying. And y'all, it really helps you avoid the stores in general, because you're sometimes like, well, I'm already out. I'll just run in the Goodwill or whatever your weakness is. Mine happens to be thrift shopping. It also can help you avoid germs. Now, I'm not proclaiming that you should live in a bubble or be afraid. But let's face it, there are germs that we've never really faced before. This is a high influenza year, so it might help you there as well, so you can think about those things. But number 2, am I afraid of running out of food or running out of my prepper stores? You know, I can preserve, grow food, do all the things that I do, buy in bulk, use Mylar bags and 30-gallon containers with those fancy schmancy lids that I can never think of the name of it. Gamma lids. That food is there for me to use. If I leave it on the shelf, it is at risk of losing the seal. Jars don't stay sealed forever if we're talking about canned food. And if it's even store-bought food, whatever it is, Food does degrade over time, so it loses its flavor to a degree. It definitely loses its nutritional quality, and it may just not taste as good in general. You know, there may be some texture issues, especially with home canned food. So food is there to be used. I plan to grow, y'all, I'm so excited, a quick game. And I've promised myself, as much as I love looking at this book, I don't need to order a food because it's pretty, like 4 kinds of radishes. I do like radishes, but I don't really want to give up that much garden space. So as I talk along, you're going to see why, if you grow some of your own food, that this pantry challenge could help you. All right. I will also have a food allowance, even though I am doing a no spend year, and this is not about a no spend year. And actually, guys, it's not a no spend year. It's going to be a low spend year. And I kind of need to make that clear so y'all don't think I'm totally gone off my rocker. Anyway, so what are my top tips? How can we get ready for this pantry challenge? And I'm going to share my epiphany with you shortly. Number 1, know your why and keep it forefront. Y'all write it on paper, stick it on your fridge, put it on your family bulletin board, put it in your planner. Whatever it takes to keep that mindset is going to be really helpful. Because let me tell you what, the first time that you've had a really busy day and you've been out and about and you come home and you want to just order pizza, you don't want to do the pantry challenge anymore, and it's like day 5. If you look at your why should be really relative to you and your situation. My why, I've already shared, is I want to save money throughout the entire year to boost my savings on the one hand and to do some home improvements on the other. But maybe your why is you have small children. You don't want to be dragging them out in the stores during, well, if you're living in a colder climate where you have to put on boots and gloves and hats and they lose their glove and, you know, all the drama and the roads are slick and la la la. All right. Number 2, are you ready for the epiphany, y'all? Why this never occurred to me in, I don't know, however many years I've been doing this, I don't know. Let me just say, this is not a criticism of anyone else's method. This is not a criticism of Sutton Days, which it's SUTTONSDAZE, not DAYS. So days like I'm in a daze, right? She does have, I did check, in her Etsy store, a 2023 pantry challenge, pantry inventory available for purchase and download. I'm not going to do that. I got it back when it was free, but I'm like, do I really want to go through and write down every herb and spice, everything I freeze dried? And then it hit me. I don't need to know how much of one item to the T that I have. If I categorize things, then it's much easier to do an inventory. I'm not needlessly writing down ad nauseum, which I have my last pantry inventory in my pantry, which took me forever, days and days, and I've been putting it off, totally not following my own recommendations. So think about your meal planning. Now, I will say breakfast for me varies through the year. When my girls are laying, I can have eggs and, you know, fresh veg because it's growing in the garden. And maybe homemade bread with it. Bread is life, right? But in the winter, I might be having a more carb-heavy breakfast, so I may be doing oatmeal with some apple butter in it, or some frozen fruit, or thawed, obviously, or raisins or nuts that I have left over from Christmas baking. So I'm not so worried about breakfast because I kind of got that covered. But when I plan a meal and I eat my big meal midday and a light snack before dinner, you'd think I'd be thin as a rail, girls and guys. Yeah, yeah, no, it's portion control for me. So what do you have? Usually you have a protein. So what are the proteins you have on hand? What meat is in your freezer? Do you do plant-based proteins? If so, what do you have for that? I canned a ton of beans, y'all, and I'm sorry, I did not film canning ranch black beans. I did link that video as an iCard at the end of the video that I talked about it. Anyway, so inventory for me is going to be, let me go through the freezer and say I have 20 packages of chicken of one form or another, whether it's a whole chicken, chicken breast, that's about all really I buy. Okay, then I'm gonna go to beef. So that would include steak, stew beef, hamburger. Then I'm gonna go to seafood, tons of, I have so much fish, y'all, I need to start eating my fish. Fish, shrimp, scallops. And I also include my canned. So if I've canned sloppy Joe mix, or I've canned chicken, I've canned turkey. I also have some purchased canned tuna and some purchased canned chicken as well. So those I will lump together under my proteins so that I can see as I go through the month what cadence I want to use things. So if I have a ton of fish, I'm going to need to have fish twice a week. But if I'm low on beef, I may only have it once a week. And if I'm super low on pork, which I am, I may only have that for one meal during the entire month. Hope that makes sense. Next category. So when you think about a meal, you've got your protein, whatever that might be, plant or animal based, then you usually have a starch. Is it potatoes? Is it rice? Is it risotto? Is it corn? You know, what is your starch for the meal? So I'm going to inventory my starchy veg, which I know I'm very low on. However, I do have freeze-dried potatoes. I have some canned potatoes, and I have some fresh potatoes, not a ton. Then you think about your veg. So am I going to use my home canned, homegrown veg? Am I going to use my store purchase, because I have some of that as well? Vegetables, some frozen vegetables. So you can kind of group all of those together. I have some freeze dried, and put those in your inventory. And again, go high level. Don't, if you have a robust pantry, don't kill yourself over documenting. I have 1 can of carrots with onions, 1 can without onions. Don't do all that. Is my epiphany. Fruit. Y'all, that is a huge weakness for me. It's not that I don't like fruit, it's just I don't eat it very much. But let me tell you what, I've kind of cornered the market on applesauce, because I used to can applesauce for my mother and she was constantly running out. So I did like this humongous batch, and now she's like, I'm over it. I don't need applesauce. So I do have lots of applesauce. I have some canned fruit. I have some fruit syrups I've canned. I have some store canned, and I have a little bit of frozen. So, however, and I do have some freeze-dried plums, yum. So put all that together. Now for me, I don't want to have too many categories. So I'm going to do a broad category for me of baking. So this would be my flours, my sweeteners. So I have honey, I have sugar, I have molasses, I have coconut sugar. And if I'm low on one and heavy on another, I'm going to use the heavy on first and then fill in with the things that I like maple syrup that are super expensive that I might be a little bit lower on. Your salt, your condiments, I'm going to kind of put that all together. Well, maybe not the condiments. Salt, baking powder, baking soda, things to make sweets and treats like cocoa powder or nuts, that type of stuff. I am going to put all that together under my baking. And I am going to be baking on my own bread again, because I kind of slipped on that, y'all. And then the final category for me is going to be miscellaneous, which really has to do with things like condiments, vinegars, maybe canning supplies. I'm going to kind of put all that together because I do can year round. Y'all, I hope that will make it easier for you. Some of you don't have large pantries, so it's, super simple. You can probably just take a quick glance at your pantry, at your fridge and freezer. Y'all, I apologize. I'm fighting the hiccups. And that's why I swallow a lot. And you'll see me say, pardon me, because I'm really trying not to hiccup. I'm learning how to squelch the hiccups. Anyway, so when you do your inventory, however you decide is best for you, whether you go the long route or you do the category, like I think is going to be a good idea. No matter how hard, y'all, we try, mine are not too bad, but I lose track. I lose track in the busy season. If you noticed in my pantry tour, there were some things on the floor that I'm like, I don't want to take everything off the shelf and put them in the back. So it's a good time to get things more organized. And also remember, y'all, you don't have to have every single thing, so don't go out and like wholly stock up, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Also, it gives you a good idea about what your exceptions will be. And I'm going to talk about that as number 8. And then where are your holes and where can you substitute? So for example, I am low, really, really low after Christmas on brown sugar. I have nearly a full gallon of molasses and I have plenty of granulated sugar on hand. I can make my own. Or you can simply add the white sugar it calls for and put a glop of molasses in a recipe. So that's an example of where I have holes. But it's also a really good time, y'all, as you're looking at, okay, I need to eat more fruit and I don't have a lot of canned fruit. Is there, obviously not so much a seed, but do I need to make a place for a plum tree and start thinking about that in the future? Let's just say you're low on canned vegetables. Do you need to allocate a portion of your garden for more vegetables and not grow 4 varieties of radishes? Yeah, I don't know what got into me on the radishes, but they were delicious and I ate them, but you eat them fresh and they're not, you can pickle them, but they're not really great long term. All right. So number 3, don't go stock up. Guys, don't go fill up your pantry because all you did was change your cadence of grocery shopping. If you're totally out of something, let's say you have littles and you're going to need milk. It's okay to get milk and freeze some milk and have some milk on hand. I totally understand that. And you're making your own rules as well. Number 4, y'all, to be successful, go ahead and plan your first week right now. Today, sit down, today or tomorrow, for the new year, before January starts, and plan your meals. Because if you don't have a plan and a way to change your previous behaviors of just going to the store, ordering takeout, or going out to eat, you're going to have great difficulty being compliant with your goal, not my goal, your goal, of the pantry challenge for January 2023. I would say then going forward, continue to meal plan a week ahead of time. So before the next week, go ahead and plan the meals. And that way you always have a go-to. Now, I will say this. I have been doing better about my meal plan, y'all. When the neighbors were over, one of the youngsters was looking at my meal plan on the refrigerator, and he was like, yeah, I want to eat here on Tuesday and Thursday for whatever reason of what I was having. It was really cute. Very, very cute. But I would say come up with, as my tip number 5, with at least a dozen meals as you're sitting down planning and going through and doing some inventory, and kind of categorize them really quick, average, meal prep, and then a little more complex. That way you have your emergency go-to meal planned, and it's fine to do some freezer meals ahead of time if that works for you. Y'all, I couldn't get Kleenex in my refrigerator, in my freezer right now, although it's getting better. I've taken out a ham and a turkey, and that made it go, all right. Number 6, use websites for ingredients on hand. I've talked about this prior. Supercook, My Fridge Foods, and allrecipes.com. I've also found, like, let's just say you have a lot of salmon. If you just type in salmon recipe, oh my word, y'all, so much comes up. You don't even need the websites. There are plenty of good recipes. Might be based on my Google history, but I don't think so. Number 7, you need a strategy to ease boredom. And I think this is especially true. I don't mind monotony, but if I was feeding a family, it might be problematic because it's not going to be everyone's favorite dish every day. So learn to make one new dish. If you have a family, get some family input. For me, y'all, and excuse my congestion, I am going to be making pasta, and I'm going to take y'all along. So I got this beautiful, wonderful new pasta machine, and let me tell you guys how many times I've used it. 2, and it was pricey. So for Christmas, my sweet dear son Ben got me 4 new dies. A die is something you put on the machine that when you're extruding the pasta, it shapes it. So I got macaronis and shells and 2 things I can't pronounce. I'm really not sure what they are. So, I'll have to bring you along for that. Now, I am very weird. I do not like mac and cheese, but I love macaroni and tomatoes, and I am tomato rich right now because I canned 60 pounds all at once and then did a bunch out of my garden, so I have plenty of tomatoes. So I love mac and tomatoes with a little sugar on it. That's what I grew up with. But I am going to learn how to make some new pasta dishes because that will give me my starch. Since I'm not potato heavy, I get bored with the rice. So just a thought for you. And then my final suggestion for a successful 2023 #pantry challenge is it's okay to have exceptions. So if you have littles, if you really don't have the pantry to really have a no-spend January on groceries, it's okay. Maybe limit yourself to how many times you're going to go to the grocery and how much money. Take cash. Don't leave your debit card at home if that's what you use. That will really help you to be more mindful of your spending. And, well, hello, Frankie. You want to be on the video? Come here. I will put you on the video. Okay. Do you want to tell the people what you got for Christmas? Do you want to tell them about your fishy? Yeah, you love your fishy. Say hello. Can you say hello to the peoples? No? Okay. Y'all, I got him it's actually a whale, but it's a kicker. And if you have cats, you know what a kicker is. So they hold it with their front paws, kick it with their back paws. And he absolutely loves it. And I got him all wound up before bed last night. And that was a mistake because he was like, come on, Mom, let's play some more. Let me get on the furniture. Let me do all the things I'm not allowed to do. Okay. So back to the exceptions. Maybe you need to have an allowance for dairy. Maybe you need to have an allowance because you have a medical need for the way you eat. Maybe you have kidney trouble or diabetes or one of those. Maybe you feel like, in 2023, you want to eat better, so you need to buy some fresh fruits or veg. That's totally fine, y'all. You set your own rules. But I do believe that if you follow some of these tips, and particularly if y'all have a robust pantry, think about, rather than to write down, I have 2 garlic salts and 1 garlic powder. Instead of doing all that, try to just do broad categories. Maybe highlight the things in one color that you're low on and then highlight them in another color that you're rich in. So I hope today has been super helpful for you. I'm so excited about spending the new year with you. You'll have so many things in my head planned. Let's just hope my body holds out. Just to give you a brief update, Nothing's really changed. That's why you've gotten 3 in a row sitting videos. I'm able to do the things that I really need to do, but it's a struggle. So I kind of have this mental idea that I want to get my garden in the ground growing well, come up with a simplified watering system. Chickens are a piece of cake. I can figure out how to take care of them. And then I may pursue having a repair of the fracture and what I suspect might be a little issue in my back. And yeah, just kind of struggling through canning season. I don't know. There never seems to be a good time to do it. Maybe I'll wait until fall, till harvest is over, but I don't know if I can hold out that long. So I covet your prayers, and I appreciate all your thoughts and well wishes. Y'all, please have a very safe and happy New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. I hope that 2023 is a very blessed year for you, and that you find joy, contentment, and rejoice in the gift from the Lord that He has given us. So until I see you again, be healthy, be well, be blessed. Take care.